President, Honorable Member Goli. Just before I start, I would like to put out a content warning. This bill does and speeches contain a mention of lack of accessibility, homelessness, discrimination, mental and physical trauma towards certain minorities. If you feel that this may emotionally distress you, I advise you take a breath outside. And before we start, I would like to point out that this bill does not aim to cure homelessness. This bill aims to eliminate hostile architecture from government-owned and funded properties, to create a more welcoming environment for everyone, especially for vulnerable populations, such as the homeless and the disabled. Hostile architecture disproportionately affects these groups by making public spaces less inclusive and accessible for them. By tackling these issues, the bill ensures that no one is marginalized or excluded from public areas. It promotes the free and comfortable use of public spaces, removing barriers and exclusionary design elements to foster a functional and welcoming environment for everyone. Ultimately, the bill seeks to enhance the ethical and livable urban landscape in Victoria by prioritizing accessibility, inclusivity, and support for all of its residents. In Victoria, approximately 6,348 people are reported to rough sleep on the streets each and every year, facing uncomfortable and often unsafe situations. This represents a significant portion of the homeless population in the region, with 23.5% increase from 2016 to 2021. These individuals frequently suffer from exposure-related illnesses, with 19% experiencing conditions such as hypothermia, frostbite, or trench foot due to inadequate shelter. This raises the question, how acceptable is hostile architecture? The truth is, it isn't. It isn't at all. Hostile architecture targets the homeless, the disabled, and other marginalized groups, effectively excluding them from public spaces and exacerbating their vulnerability and marginalization. By designing public spaces to be unwelcoming to certain groups, hostile architecture creates and reinforces social inequalities, denying some individuals the same access that we grant to everyone else. It dehumanizes these individuals, reflecting a lack of empathy and compassion for those who rely on public spaces for rest and safety. Designs that prioritize aesthetics or the convenience of certain groups or the basic rights to movement should be shaped. These public spaces should be inclusive, accessible, and beneficial for all community members. Hostile architecture undermines this ethos by creating selectively accessible environments that contribute to human community fragmentation, reducing the opportunity for social interaction and cohesion. Everyone, and I mean everyone, has a right, fundamental right, to shelter and safety, which hostile architecture fundamentally denies by preventing individuals from finding even temporary refuge in public spaces. Instead of hostile architecture, ethical urban planning should prioritize inclusivity, ensuring that spaces are accessible and welcoming to people of all diverse backgrounds, abilities, and needs. Designs should respect the dignity of all individuals, supporting well-being without stigmatizing or excluding anyone. Safety and security, both physical and psychological, are crucial considerations. Sustainability should be prioritized to minimize environmental impact and promote long-term ecological balance. Community engagement in the design process is essential to foster ownership and inclusiveness during equitable outcomes and enhancing quality of life for all of its users. Hostile architecture displaces homelessness, pushing people from rural to urban with features such as curved benches and spikes, which make public space unwelcoming and inaccessible. Hostile architecture excludes marginalized groups from public spaces, undermining the community cohesion and quality of life. Green spaces increase outdoor usage by 76% and reduce stress, but hostile designs hinder this potential. Local businesses, vital to the economy, suffer in unwelcoming environments, Removing hostile architecture can increase foot traffic, support businesses, and foster inclusivity. Vulnerable populations, including wheelchair users, parents with strollers, and homeless, and even animals, are adversely affected by hostile architecture, such as bench dividers and tree spikes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll call on the